The arts represent an outlet of expression that is usually influenced by culture and which in turn helps to change culture. As such, the arts are a physical manifestation of the internal creative impulse. Major constituents of the arts include literature, including poetry, novels and short stories, and epics, performing arts, among them music, dance, and theatre, culinary arts such as baking, chocolatiering, and winemaking, media arts like photography and cinematography, and visual arts, including drawing, painting, ceramics, and sculpting. Some art forms combine a visual element with performance and the written word. From prehistoric cave paintings to modern-day films, art serves as a vessel for storytelling and conveying mankind's relationship with its environment. Definitions. In its most basic abstract definition, art is a documented expression of a sentient being through or on an accessible medium so that anyone can view, hear or experience it. The act itself of producing an expression can also be referred to as a certain act, or as art in general, if this solidified expression, or the act of producing it, is good, or has value depends on those who access and rate it, and this public rating is dependent on various subjective factors. Collins English Dictionary defines the arts as imaginative, creative, and non-scientific branches of knowledge considered collectively, especially as studied academically. The singular term art is defined by the Irish Art Encyclopedia as follows. Art is created when an artist creates a beautiful object, or produces a stimulating experience that is considered by his audience to have artistic merit. The same source states, art is a global activity which encompasses a host of disciplines, as evidenced by the range of words and phrases which have been invented to describe its various forms. Examples of such phraseology include fine arts, liberal arts, visual arts, decorative arts, applied arts, design, crafts, performing arts, and so on. History. In ancient Greece, all art and craft were referred to by the same word, techne. Thus, there was no distinction between the arts. Ancient Greek art brought the veneration of the animal form and the development of equivalent skills to show musculature, poise, beauty and anatomically correct proportions. Ancient Roman art depicted gods as idealized humans, shown with characteristic distinguishing features. In Byzantine and Gothic art of the Middle Ages, the dominance of the Church insisted on the expression of biblical and not material truths. Eastern art has generally worked in a style akin to Western medieval art, namely a concentration on surface patterning and local color. A characteristic of this style is that the local color is often defined by an outline. This is evident in, for example, the art of India, Tibet and Japan. Religious Islamic art forbids iconography, and expresses religious ideas through geometry instead. The physical and rational certainties depicted by the Enlightenment in the late 17th and 18th centuries were shattered not only by new discoveries of relativity by Albert Einstein, the development of the quantum mechanics. In the words of Richard Feynman, quantum mechanics deals with nature as she is, absurd, and of unseen psychology by Freud, but also by unprecedented technological development. Paradoxically, the expressions of new technologies were greatly influenced by the ancient tribal arts of Africa and Oceania. Through the works of Paul Gauguin and the Post-Impressionists, Pablo Picasso and the Cubists, as well as the Futurists and others. Disciplines. In the Middle Ages, the art liberales were taught in universities as part of the trivium, an introductory curriculum involving grammar, rhetoric, and logic, and of the quadrivium, a curriculum involving the mathematical arts of arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. The art mechanicae were practiced and developed in guild environments. The modern distinction between artistic and non-artistic skills did not develop until the Renaissance. In modern academia, the arts are usually grouped with or as a subset of the humanities. Some subjects in the humanities are history, linguistics, literature, and philosophy. Newspapers typically include a section on the arts. Traditionally, the arts are classified as 7: architecture, sculpture, painting, music, poetry, dance, theatre, cinema, with the modern additions of photography and comics. Visual arts. Drawing. Drawing is a means of making an image, using any of a wide variety of tools and techniques. It generally involves making marks on a surface by applying pressure from a tool, or moving a tool across a surface. Common tools are graphite pencils, pen and ink, inked brushes, wax color pencils, crayons, charcoals, pastels, and markers. Digital tools which can simulate the effects of these are also used. The main techniques used in drawing are line drawing, hatching, cross-hatching, random hatching, scribbling, stippling, and blending. An artist who excels in drawing is referred to as a draftswoman or draftsman. Drawings are used to create comics and animation, for example. Painting. Painting, taken literally, is the practice of applying pigments suspended in a vehicle and a binding agent to a surface such as paper, canvas, wood panel, or a wall. However, when used in an artistic sense, it means the use of this activity in combination with drawing, composition, and other aesthetic considerations in order to manifest the expressive and conceptual intention of the practitioner. Painting is also used to express spiritual motifs and ideas. Sites of this kind of painting range from artwork depicting mythological figures on pottery to the Sistine Chapel to the human body itself. Color is the essence of painting as sound is of music. Color is highly subjective, but has observable psychological effects, although these can differ from one culture to the next. Black is associated with mourning in the West, but elsewhere white may be. Some painters, theoreticians, writers and scientists, including Goethe, Kandinsky, Newton, have written their own color theory. Moreover, the use of language is only an abstraction for a color equivalent. The word red, for example, can cover a wide range of variations on the pure red of the spectrum. There is not a formalized register of different colors in the way that there is agreement on different notes in music, such as a C or C hash. Although the Pantone system is widely used in the printing and design industry for this purpose, modern artists have extended the practice of painting considerably to include, for example, collage. This began with Cubism and is not painting in strict sense. Some modern painters incorporate different materials such as sand, cement, straw or wood for their texture. Examples of this are the works of Jean Dubuffet or Anselm Kiefer. Modern and contemporary art has moved away from the historic value of craft in favor of concept. This has led some to say that painting, as a serious art form, is dead. Although this has not deterred the majority of artists from continuing to practice it either as whole or part of their work. Ceramics. Ceramic art is art made from ceramic materials, which may take forms including artware, tile, figurines, sculpture, and tableware. While some ceramic products are considered fine art, some are considered to be decorative, industrial or applied art objects. Ceramics may also be considered artifacts in archaeology. Ceramic art can be made by one person or by a group of people. In a pottery or ceramic factory, a group of people design, manufacture and decorate the artware. Products from a pottery are sometimes referred to as art pottery. In a one-person pottery studio, ceramists or potters produce studio pottery. In modern ceramic engineering usage, ceramics is the art and science of making objects from inorganic, non-metallic materials by the action of heat. It excludes glass and mosaic made from glass. Tesserae photography. Photography as an art form refers to photographs that are created in accordance with the creative vision of the photographer. Art photography stands in contrast to photojournalism, which provides a visual account for news events, and commercial photography, the primary focus of which is to advertise products or services. Architecture. Architecture is the art and science of designing buildings and structures. The word architecture comes from the Greek architekton, master builder, director of works, from alpha rho chi iota, chief, plus tau epsilon kappa tau omega nu, builder, carpenter. A wider definition would include the design of the built environment, from the macro level of town planning, urban design, and landscape architecture to the micro level of creating furniture. Architectural design usually must address both feasibility and cost for the builder, as well as function and aesthetics for the user. In modern usage, architecture is the art and discipline of creating an actual, or inferring an implied or apparent plan of any complex object or system. The term can be used to connote the implied architecture of abstract things such as music or mathematics, the apparent architecture of natural things, such as geological formations or the structure of biological cells, or explicitly planned architectures of human-made things such as software, computers, enterprises, and databases, in addition to buildings. In every usage, an architecture may be seen as a subjective mapping from a human perspective to the elements or components of some kind of structure or system, which preserves the relationships among the elements or components. Planned architecture manipulates space, volume, texture, light, shadow, or abstract elements in order to achieve pleasing aesthetics. This distinguishes it from applied science or engineering, which usually concentrate more on the functional and feasibility aspects of the design of constructions or structures. In the field of building architecture, the skills demanded of an architect range from the more complex, such as for a hospital or a stadium, to the apparently simpler, such as planning residential houses. Many architectural works may be seen also as cultural and political symbols, or works of art. The role of the architect, though changing, has been central to the successful design and implementation of pleasingly built environments in which people live. Sculpture. Sculpture is the branch of the visual arts that operates in 3 dimensions. It is one of the plastic arts. Durable sculptural processes originally used carving and modeling, in stone, metal, ceramics, wood and other materials, but, since modernism, shifts in sculptural process led to an almost complete freedom of materials and process. A wide variety of materials may be worked by removal, such as carving, assembled by welding or modeling, or molded, or cast. Conceptual art. Conceptual art is art in which the concept or idea involved in the work that takes precedence over traditional aesthetic and material concerns. The inception of the term in the 1960s referred to a strict and focused practice of idea-based art that often defied traditional visual criteria associated with the visual arts in its presentation as text. Through its association with the Young British Artists and the Turner Prize during the 1990s, its popular usage, particularly in the UK, developed as a synonym for all contemporary art that does not practice the traditional skills of painting and sculpture. Literary arts. Literature is literally acquaintance with letters, as in the first sense given in the Oxford English Dictionary. The noun literature comes from the Latin word litera, meaning an individual written character. The term has generally come to identify a collection of writings, which in Western culture are mainly prose, drama and poetry. In much, if not all of the world, the artistic linguistic expression can be oral as well, and includes such genres as epic, legend, myth, ballad, other forms of oral poetry, and as folk tale. Literary arts and creative writing are interchangeable terms. Comics, the combination of drawings or other visual arts with narrating literature, are often called the ninth art in Francophone scholarship. Performing arts. Performing arts comprise dance, music, theatre, opera, mime, and other art forms in which a human performance is the principal product. Performing arts are distinguished by this performance element. In contrast with disciplines such as visual and literary arts where the product is an object that does not require a performance to be observed and experienced. Each discipline in the performing arts is temporal in nature, meaning the product is performed over a period of time. Products are broadly categorized as being either repeatable or improvised for each performance. Artists who participate in these arts in front of an audience are called performers, including actors, magicians, comedians, dancers, musicians, and singers. Performing arts are also supported by the services of other artists or essential workers, such as songwriting and stagecraft. Performers often adapt their appearance, with costumes and stage makeup, etc. Performance art is a specialized form of fine art in which the artists perform their work live to an audience. Music is an art form whose medium is sound. Common elements of music are pitch, rhythm, dynamics, and the sonic qualities of timbre and texture. The creation, performance, significance, and even the definition of music vary according to culture and social context. Music ranges from strictly organized compositions, through improvisational music to aleatoric forms. Music can be divided into genres and subgenres, although the dividing lines and relationships between music genres are often subtle, sometimes open to individual interpretation, and occasionally controversial. Within the arts, music may be classified as a performing art, a fine art, and auditory art. Theatre is the branch of the performing arts concerned with acting out stories in front of an audience using combinations of speech, gesture, music, dance, sound and spectacle, indeed any one or more elements of the other performing arts. In addition to the standard narrative dialogue style, theatre takes such forms as opera, ballet, mime, kabuki, classical Indian dance, Chinese opera and mummers plays. Dance generally refers to human movement either used as a form of expression or presented in a social, spiritual or performance setting. Dance was often referred to as a plastic art during the modern dance era. Dance is also used to describe methods of nonverbal communication between humans or animals, motion in inanimate objects, and certain musical forms or genres. Choreography is the art of making dances, and the person who does this is called a choreographer. People dance to relieve stress. Definitions of what constitutes dance are dependent on social, cultural, aesthetic, artistic and moral constraints and range from functional movement to codified, virtuoso techniques such as ballet. In sports, gymnastics, figure skating and synchronized swimming are dance disciplines, while martial arts, kata, are often compared to dances. Multidisciplinary artistic works. Areas exist in which artistic works incorporate multiple artistic fields, such as film, opera and performance art. While opera is often categorized in the performing arts of music, the word itself is Italian for works, because opera combines several artistic disciplines in a singular artistic experience. In a typical traditional opera, the entire work utilizes the following: the sets, costumes, acting, the libretto, or the words, story, and singers and an orchestra. The composer Richard Wagner recognized the fusion of so many disciplines into a single work of opera, exemplified by his cycle Der Ring des Nibelungen. He did not use the term opera for his works, but instead Gesamtkunstwerk, sometimes referred to as music drama in English, emphasizing the literary and theatrical components which were as important as the music. Classical ballet is another form which emerged in the 19th century in which orchestral music is combined with dance. Other works in the late 19th, 20th and 21st centuries have fused other disciplines in unique and creative ways, such as performance art. Performance art is a performance over time which combines any number of instruments, objects, and art within a predefined or less well-defined structure, some of which can be improvised. Performance art may be scripted, unscripted, random or carefully organized. Audience participation can even occur. John Cage is regarded by many as a performance artist rather than a composer, although he preferred the latter term. He did not compose for traditional ensembles. Cage's composition Living Room Music, composed in 1940 as a quartet for unspecified instruments, really non-melodic objects, which can be found in a living room of a typical house, hence the title. Video games. A debate exists in the fine arts and video game cultures over whether video games can be counted as an art form. Game designer Hideo Kojima professes that video games are a type of service, not an art form, because they are meant to entertain and attempt to entertain as many people as possible, rather than being a single artistic voice. However, he acknowledged that since video games are made up of artistic elements, game designers could be considered museum curators, not creating artistic pieces, but arranging them in a way that displays their artistry and sells tickets. In May 2011, the National Endowment of the Arts included video games in its redefinition of what is considered a work of art when applying for a grant. In 2012, the Smithsonian American Art Museum presented an exhibit, The Art of the Video Game. Reviews of the exhibit were mixed, including questioning whether video games belong in an art museum.